Alrighty, we live now. I just had to do it the manual way. It didn't want to start up. Alrighty. Yep, there we go. We're live. Live for sure. I had a software glitch. Let's see here. Alrighty. Get this over here where I want it. Yeah, that's more better. Alrighty. Yeah, we got some people coming in on the chat now. John.
Alright.
Touch of the Brush Mall Weathering. Got Greg G. Dave. How y'all doing? As Big Bill would say, we'll do a little bit of homework right here at the beginning. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. So, let's see what we got for next month. Nothing. Alright, September the 11th. It's going to be start of the Fine Scale show. And that's going to be 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time, the usual time for Tuesday shows. Then we also got Joe's show on Wednesday, September the 19th, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So be sure and tune in for both of those. And he's kind of working on a little different format. Joe's also doing a little bit different format. I think everybody's going to enjoy that one. This first show back is going to be with Bill the Track Planner. They're going to do something a little different. I think everybody's going to enjoy that. It will involve the running of trains. So we don't have a Who's Big Bill Talking To right yet schedule, but we his show's not a regular show to start with, so one of our own had made a post. He watched Big Bill's show the last show, and noticed Big Bill was moving his laptop around, which is not a good thing, trying to show off his layout since he didn't have a webcam. So Troy posted up a wrong one. Did a post. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing to stop cycling. There you go. Anyway, Troy Simpson, he did the post. And he said that there is a Droid app that you can get that will, let's see. It's an easy and free way to do this so that you don't drop an expensive laptop. It is called the Droid Cam, and you can use it to make your Android phone or tablet into a wireless streaming camera. That way you can leave the computer on the desk and just carry a lightweight phone instead. And at the bottom of the link, his post, he shows the link to that. It looks like a YouTube video. Probably tells you in the video where you could go to get that droid out. So
those are cool. I think Bill has a real phone though, but they do have that app available for you know, for real phones, for Apple phones as well. So
alrighty.
And for all the droid people who are going to be you know, giving me some heat in the comments, I'm fully prepared for that. So.
Yeah. Oh, Eric just come in. Mr. Bill Rogers, Brian, Dan. He's been a little sparse lately. Yeah, Jerry, I don't think you'll work with a flip phone either. You'll have to do like me and kind of take a step up there. That's what I was using, but mine finally gave up the ghost. Didn't want to play right.
Prior to the iPhone being mainstreamed, I had a Nokia N90 or an N92, something like that. But, the N90 series, and it was a Nokia flip style phone that had a really advanced camera on it, and it supported Java apps. You could stream, but you could stream it to a computer. That's like 2003 or something like that. And boy, that was cutting edge at the time, and it was awful. Now this stuff has got to be pretty easy. There's a security system out there that a piece of software that you run on your computer to use it as a home security system, and the people are recommending to use smartphones to use that, because you can buy Android phones. I've said, speaking about JMRI and about the DCC plus DCC system, strong high system like Martin uses. If you were to use it for throttles, you could buy Android phones all day long for $30 a piece, 30, 35. They're not good phones, but they're phones. You use as throttles, but you could also use them as cameras. And for not much more money, you can get weatherproof phones. That's cheaper than buying security cameras.
Well, like I said, we're starting out the new season, so if anyone's got any ideas they'd like to see in a show, be sure and let me and Big Bill know. You can go to the website, youtubemallbuilders.com. There you'll find our emails, and you can email us with your idea. You know, we're all the time looking for ideas.
It was so funny. And while we got a minute, I wanted to show something. I had a chance to slightly rail fan this week, so let me show you. Let me share something here. Now this picture is not mine. I couldn't find mine. I don't know if anybody has seen this engine before. It's called the Leviathan 63. It's a reproduction of the steam engine that pulled Lincoln's funeral train. It was built by David Clokey in his metal shop out in Elgin, Illinois. This picture was taken at the Illinois Rail Museum, and it operates on diesel. They burn diesel fuel. It took them 10 years to build this engine. They were trying to get it done for the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's assassination a few years back, which they did, and they had a lot of plans for it, but a lot of the plans fell through. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this is the next step, which is actually something I was able to see a couple days ago. Let's see if I can get that picture up. This is actually the next step in that. This is the next step. Oh, that's not the right picture. Oh gosh, where to go? Get rid of that. The next step is, actually this one might work, is the actual funeral car. Come on, computer. do what I wanted to. The same people built the funeral car as part of the connection, and it actually was on display the other day up in Antioch, Illinois. Sorry about that one. You can see some of the things. This is the side mural that they have on it. He had all sorts of plans, references from the state of Illinois, the Lincoln Museum, to reproduce it. As for the inside, there were drawings of what they thought was supposed to be inside. There were never any photos. So the things that you see on the inside here, like the potbelly stoves, were pretty much I love the ornate the decoration on this potbelly stove. You wouldn't think they would put so much effort into it, but that's the seal on top of the. They actually have a mock-up casket in there. There's the side. It's all reproduced. Here's the casket. Gentleman was explaining about the about things about the funeral, how Lincoln's body was transported and everything. You can see I'm one of those people. I take a lot of what I call file shots. Many years ago, I had access to free film, black and white film, and I used to take a lot of file photos. But this is the interior, how they have it decorated right now. This is the bedroom area. Little things they have on the walls for it. The couch there's two sides to it. The one side had Lincoln's casket, and the other side was actually was more of a lounge, but they also had a smaller casket of Lincoln's son Willie, who had died 3 years prior. They dug up the body and brought it on the train so Lincoln and his son could be buried together in Springfield. But this is the reproduction of it. Oh, I'm in the wrong side. There we go. You can see all the effort they put into this. It was all private funds to get this together, and from what I understand from what they were saying, this car and the engine were sold to a private investor on the East Coast to be on his own private land and possibly used for, as the guy described it, various events. I actually went backwards on the actual photos. Give you an idea how much work they put into it. These are the wheels. That's even, you see, I even took the the brake handle. That's what I do. Even some that's actually gold leaf they put on the car. And this is how it appeared in the morning because it was raining up, so they had it covered. Here are the actual wheels set, how that's decorated, and then of course a Lincoln pin. Car as we got when we got there. I just wanted to show this because it's reproduced excellent, and the company is now working on, since there were something like 9 cars to the whole funeral train, the rest were more to hold the army, the military people who were assisting the casket. They're working on building one of them now, or 2, whatever the case may be. But I wanted to show this off. So interesting how, as for the dual sets of wheels, I found out why they had 2 sets. Anybody know why?
Yeah, they had to travel across 2 gauges, I guess, right?
Bingo. That was because of the dual gauges they chose. He didn't say exactly which set was which, but it was originally, the first one was designed to be for the dual gauges, what railroad they had to run on. So I just want to give you guys a look at this. Had a chance to actually get out there a couple days ago, and since what they're doing is they're also celebrating now the 200th birthday of the state of Illinois. So it's all part of that in this weekend. So even though there wasn't much going on Tuesday when we went by, this weekend they're supposed to have a lot of festivities with this car. They're going to have somebody who's playing Lincoln, of course. They're going to have a Civil War military band, Civil War reenactment, all that. So,
all right. Well, I got a question here, Cabana, about from Eric. Now the question: where did the original car come from? Why it is such an odd-looking car to start with?
Okay, from what my memory serves, it goes like this: and is the car was approved by Abraham Lincoln so that he can have a way to travel the country, and the car was being built at the Washington D.C. At the military base there, whatever, I forgot the name of the base. Okay, I do apologize, but the reality was, on his calendar, it said so-and-so date, Ford Theater, and the next day it said, on the next day, review new train car. So he never got to see the train car. He was supposed to review it the next morning after the play at Ford Theater. So the only usage he got out of it is when he was transported across the country for the funeral.
Yeah. You want to add anything there, Jason? You've been hopping up and down.
More?
Yeah. Well, the reason why it was not the original plan was to go from Washington D.C. to Springfield, Illinois,
right,
for the 150th. The only reason why that they could not do that was federal laws.
Okay.
And they were going to use the engine in that car.
Right.
And it was just the federal law would not let them because it was out of date. And unfortunately, it was sad. And unfortunately, the reason why I know a lot of this is because I live right in Springfield. So I know a lot about the history of it and all that. And yes, it was at that time, Air Force One.
Right, yeah.
And I haven't heard anything about the other cars that they were going to redo.
Yeah. Well, since we were there a couple days ago, the other car is something new that they're starting to work on. It's the military cars. They claim they're going to do one, if not two, right now. Like they have the plan for it. And but this car, it's like the last time it's going to be seen in public. Another reason to get out to see it. But it's going to be after this. The private owner takes over, and it's going to be on his property.
Well, I thought the deal was it was supposed to be in a climate control building.
It probably is, because the way they described it was the gentleman's going to have it on his property to be used for events. That's the way the guy described it. And in our area, there's another person who has something similar. The San Filippo estate, gentleman who owns Fisher Nuts, he has things like this as well. His whole house is full of all sorts of organs and amusement boxes and all sorts of stuff. And he has a separate building, because I have actually seen this building years ago, that actually has a carousel and a steam engine and car, and they use it for a lot of and public events. So that's the envision I got from when the gentleman told us this.
Yeah, and the answer about what about the original car? The original car was sent to Iowa at one time, and it was stored there, and it got for some reason it was an accidental fire or something like that, and the original car got burnt to pieces.
Yeah. He gave us the whole history of it. Union Pacific had it, and then they didn't like it, and then someone else acquired it, and it ended up getting burnt.
Yeah, because down here we've got the funeral car for was it Roosevelt? I think it was. It's down here at Duluth in the museum. They at some point in time was hoping to restore it. Not sure exactly when. That was years ago when I saw it. My son and I were out there. They let you walk through it. You know, it had the pedestal inside, but it was kind of run down shape. It definitely needs some work.
Yeah. It's just like any type of historical item and all that.
Yeah.
There's times that it's going to need to be restored.
Or it's all wood, fine woods. You know, it's not. You know, even steel breaks down, but it's a wood. It's a piece of wood rolling stock. You know, the life expectancy on them in the heyday, when they maintained this stuff well, the life expectancy of a freight car, Civil War, immediately post Civil War, was 20 years. They replaced them every 20 years. They rot. So, you know, nowadays you get 60 years out of a freight car or something, but...
Yeah, and the funny thing is the actual Lincoln funeral car, it was actually built more up to date than the actual plans were. Because actually it was steel underneath.
Oh, underframe? Yeah, steel underframe. Steel underframe become fairly common in the late, like 1890s or something. So in 1865 or so, that would have been pretty spectacularly ahead of its time. Good stuff from that.
Yeah, well, the thing is it was going to be built for Lincoln's Air Force One at that day.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be able to have it sturdy enough to withstand a blast or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's possible. There's leaders in the world today that have trains that have that kind of level of, you know, reasonable level of protection. In my mind, it doesn't take that much to disable a train car, so that doesn't seem like it'd be that secure of a way to transport a president. But.
Yeah, well, back in that day, it was probably the best way because...
Well, I mean, it's that or horseback, basically, right?
Yeah.
That or horseback.
Yeah. Because Lincoln showed up to Washington in a train. He left Washington in a train.
Well, that's what the route that they were taking with the original casket was basically supposedly the same route he took from Springfield to Washington when for his presidency. So they just were going to go back. They went backwards with that for his funeral. One way or the other, it was an interesting car. It was an interesting car. I myself, with the Leviathan, is gorgeous, but I prefer to see the trains in a more natural state. You know, like when you see them at museums, they're the color they were when they were at a, when they were operated in the railroads. The way they had it is more museum quality look.
Yeah.
The
Leviathan, it's been in running order for, what is it, 2018?
Yeah.
It was 2008, I think it started running.
Right.
But they get to get those engines back. I mean, look what they did with the Jupiter and the other one at Promontory Point. I mean, they refurbished those locomotives and put them back on steam again. You know, properly refurbished those 160-year-old engines, 180-year-old engines, put them back under steam.
Yeah. Class J's.
The Class J.
They're working on.
The good thing about the Class J is it was built so late. I mean, the Class J wasn't built until the first 6 of them were built in the early 1940s. The last of them was finished the last of the 13 was finished by 49. So as far as steam goes, it's very, very late generation steam. So.
Yeah. And I believe they're going to try to work on that 10-wheeler that came out of Texas.
Oh, really? I got to see.
Oh, no, it was Georgia. It came from Georgia, and they brought it up to, I think, North Carolina. That's
Yeah,
the museum there.
Yeah, but Spencer, that would make sense. It's a good place to start. I mean, the J is such an interesting story of how it got saved, but it's all legend. Nobody really knows the truth. It's kind of been urban legend in the railroad community for years that they tried to destroy the thing and they hid it. Like, they didn't put it in a drawer. Okay, they hid a 110-foot long steam locomotive in a paint shop in Roanoke. And they didn't know where it was, and they were able to hide it long enough that that president left the Norfolk Western that wanted to destroy all the steam, and they saved the J. But I got to see the A under steam back in the early 90s. What I wish they had refurbished that one, but that's probably unlikely.
No, I don't think so either. I know I've seen the J under steam before it was retired and then brought back.
I rode in the cab of the J from Cincinnati to halfway to Chattanooga. So Danville. We rode from Cincinnati down the CNOTP and had a stop in Danville. At the time, now I think dispatch is done out of Somerset. Well, anyway, that was a division point, I think, and stopped at the point, and then I rode the back. And I rode behind the J at least 7 or 8 times behind her, and I got to ride the cab that one time, man. I was at the time, I was 17 years old, 18 years old, something like that. I fell in love with steam. I mean, I've been a diesel era modeler all my young life, and that's why I have no interest in modeling per se. I mean, I don't have as much interest. I could see doing a side project in a modern era, a module thing, a different scale, something like that. My primary railroading is always going to be steam powered or electric, steam powered. What we wouldn't give to have some of this back that was lost without any concern for keeping any of it.
Yeah, I wish the Railroad Museum closer to me would restore the 10-wheeler, because I live about an hour and 15 hour and a half from Monticello, Illinois.
Is that where the Illinois Transportation Museum is, where the Big Blow is?
No, that's the Illinois Railway Museum.
Yeah, that's Union, Illinois.
Yeah,
that's up by Route.
I'm in Chicago. I'm closer to Union for the Illinois Railway Museum. I've been wanting to go down to Monticello, never have yet.
That one there is it's a fun museum to go to. Usually you want to go like, I think, what is it, 2-3 more weeks?
Yeah.
When they have railroad days there.
Right.
When they have railroad days there, you got 3 trains running on one main line.
I'll have to see if I can do that, because I know I got them on my Facebook, and they're advertising the steam engines out this weekend for the Labor Day weekend.
They're going to do it this weekend? Oh, okay.
That's what I thought they said. But see, on Labor Day weekend, I prefer to go, in our area, I go up to the LaPorte County Steam Museum in northern Indiana. They have steam engines of various sizes. They have steam lumber, steam electric power plants. They even have a steam popcorn maker.
Huh.
Actually, it's actually connected to Chicago. It was seen for the first time at our 1893 World's Fair, and company actually built it in Chicago. So it's like they restored it recently. But they have the steam popcorn maker, and it's their big weekend. they have the tractors out and everything. So I'm gonna see if I can get there. I'm working Saturday and Sunday. I'm gonna see if I can get there Monday, depends on what my schedule for work says. But it's only about, I think it's like 2 or 3 hour jolt around the lake.
No, not actually. They're not running the steam engine this weekend. No, they're not. It's diesel.
Okay, I must have saw their ad for railroad days then.
Yeah, because that's the next time they run it. But still, the diesels are kind of neat to go see too. I don't know which one they're running this weekend, but they got three or four different ones they can run. Pretty soon they're going to have their E unit running.
Okay.
It's going to be painted up in IC colors.
I've never seen an E under power. We've got one in L&N livery down at Bowling Green at the museum down there. I've got to see it, but I've never seen an E under power. I've seen the Fs, but Norfolk Southern has those on the corporate train, and I've got to rail fan and chase the corporate train years ago with the Fs on it. I think that's
Yeah.
All right, Andy, got a question for you.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, Greg G wants to know, is that a lip seal tool that mechanics use to install oil seals?
I doubt it. I don't know. I got a handful of these things. I'm not sure what their use is. I use them for what Ralph picks on me for, basically, for any excuse to not get my hands dirty, basically. But between these and dental picks, and heck, when I was in the show the other day, I bought some more dental picks. I buy picks every time I turn around. They're just so handy. I got a reasonable. I mean, it's not a great technique. I'm still in the early phases of figuring it out, but a way to get concrete seam line, or I'm sorry, board lines on concrete piers. So I made, and I'll just show you. I've made a few so far. And these that I'm doing are not up close and personal. So this side of this is a dental a casting made out of dental plaster. The camera just doesn't do it justice, but it has board seam lines in it and board texture, and it's a really spectacularly good casting. Well, you can only see this side from where you're positioned, but this needs to be there. I mean, if somebody's particularly tall, they'll see the top of it. Or if I run a camera around the layout, you will see it. So you still have to scenic stuff to some degree that's not visible. So this is just styrofoam and skim coated with spackle. I tint the spackle with tempera paint, and I got board form lines on, and that wing is just made of foam core with the paper ripped off, and I got board form lines on the styrofoam. So I wrapped it in skim coated it in spackle, and then took a sanding stick. I asked for it when my wife's going somewhere. She picked something for it, but so it's a sanding stick, but a nail file and an emery board, whatever, and just laid it at a slight angle and file and board form lines. They're not spectacular. I mean, they're not as good as like a dental plaster casting, but if it's going to be in the background, like all this stuff I'm working with here is feet away from you, 3 or 4 feet minimum away from you. So now, I've made some of these styrofoam piers that are right up close and personal. Let's see, those right there on that bridge that are right out at the front edge, but I will remake those at least a time or two again before I feel like I'm satisfied with them at all. And honestly, I probably won't keep styrofoam that close to the edge of the layout. Not with this dental plaster. With the quality and effect you get out of that dental plaster, I've got abutments that were those 1.5 by 3 foot stoves, the Norfolk and Western and the Pennsylvania, a bunch of Baltimore, Ohio. These railroads were famous for carving these 3 foot by, or using these 3 foot by 1.5 foot blocks, which coincidentally is exactly the size of a Lego in O scale. But in HO scale, we don't have something to do, so to use for that. So I carved that, and I'll show you what I just carved. Again, it's not great because it doesn't. What I'm about to show you, it doesn't have to be. It's back edge of the layout. You don't need a lot of quality. That tunnel portal that is there where the track runs into the hillside, that's every bit of the view you could ever get on it. 7 feet away, 7.5 feet away. You will never be any closer to it. But again, if you run around the layout with a video camera, you want to have some view of it that looks halfway decent. So I carved it to look like the prototype. And it's just styrofoam. I put texture in the stones, all that jazz.
Real quick, John Daly said he's riding a steam train this weekend in Santa Paula, California.
Where at, John?
Santa Paula, California. Hey, Ralph.
Howdy.
Hey, buddy.
I heard you using my name in vain, so I figured I should come in and keep you in line.
Hey, well, it was entirely useful to use your name. Asked me what this tool was. I said, it's just a tool. Just one of these tools I use as an excuse to let Ralph give me a hard time.
Yeah, because you don't like getting your hands dirty.
They got dirty still, but no. Why would you get your hands dirty when you could buy boxes of latex gloves for a few dollars?
No comment.
My hands have been dirty plenty. I worked part of my life as a carpenter, but I've been an IT guy.
That's not dirty. That's dusty, not dirty.
I felt pretty dirty, but back then, but felt like I got pretty dirty by the end of the day. These days, I'm an IT guy, so getting dirty is not in my typical job description. It happens.
So you don't like climbing into ceiling spaces to run cat wire?
I have guys for that. I have run plenty of Cat 5 in my life. Plenty of thousands and thousands of feet of Cat 5. Here lately, I've been doing this antenna project, and I want to get my hands dirty on that, so to speak. I want to be out there climbing and checking that stuff out. So they won't let us climb the water towers, though. We have to pay somebody, a professional rigger, to climb them. I was excited about it, but the government's going to require us to use a professional rigger.
But they wouldn't let you do it.
No, I mean, I have climbed a water tower in my day, but it was late evening, and there was no tying up of wire. We were not hooking up wireless to it like we.
I believe Touch of the Brush model weathering. I believe he said his name was Joe. He said, "What would your take on building an incline for a bi-level layout, building a 12 by 13 around the wall? Thank you."
That's what mine is, roughly. Mine's 15 by 15. It is a quote-unquote no-licks, but where it spirals to the roof. But I do have helixes. Not only do I have to have helixes, but I would want them anyway to increase mainline length and to work like a spring in the operation. They absorb train length and then spit that train length back out at another spot. So you would never have a spot on my layout where you were in one town. One of the rules of thumbs of my layout is there has to be twice the length of a passing siding between the passing sidings. But, based on what the prototype was. But I want enough running length. I went around the room, but you can still negate so much that way. And in a 15 by 15 room, I can gain 8 inches going around the peninsula. I can get to about 10, maybe 11 inches at 2-ish% grade. My layout, there's not a straight, flat section of track on the layout, including staging. Staging's on a grade. 1.6% grade steady, and it goes up to about 2.2 in the Helix, which is exactly what the prototype is. It's 1.2-ish, you know, up through the valley, and then up to the 2.2 up the helper part. It's hard in a 12 by 13 room. You're either going to have very, very, very close together levels, like a foot at best, or you need to employ a Helix or a peninsula, and in a room the size you were saying, 11 by 13, 12 by 13, something like that, you could use a peninsula, and at the end of the peninsula, which is where I'm putting mine, do 2 wraps. So make as much elevation as you can visibly, and that way you don't have to have a 7 or 8 tier Helix. Go out to the end of the peninsula, spin around twice, and you're up.
But you have to know what the incline is for a 2% grade over a distance. And in 16 feet, at 2%, you gain 4 inches. So if you want to do a deck that's 12 inches high, you have to do that 3 times. So that's 32 feet to get to 12 inches. Andy's thinking.
So that'd be 48 feet, right? To get to 48 feet to get that high.
You're right. Sorry.
That's okay. It's just so far. I mean, going around the room, everything I could do to optimize to get enough elevation, and I couldn't get enough elevation. And I'm doing these weird half levels where I have this little narrow level way up high, then a big fat level, a little narrow level, then a big fat level, and still, with every trick I could find in the book, I couldn't get around having a couple turn, 2 or 3 turns on a Helix.
Well, on my layout, which is in a 10 by 19 room, I have 10 inches at where I join into my Helix. That was the height that I went to. I could have gone up a little bit higher using the Helix to get up there to make another shelf. But I chose just to go up the 10 inches. And that's at 2%. If you want to go 3%, you can do it in a shorter space.
Keep in mind a couple considerations that a lot of people don't account for. John Allen had a little chart. For the longest time, I associated with this John Armstrong since he was so famous for track playing. But John Allen had a chart: curve radius to effective grade relationship. So when you're in that Helix, if it's 2%, it is not effectively 2%. It's effectively 2.5% or something. That curve radii, depending on how steep the curve is going to increase the resistance to motion of your trains. So in my Helix, where I'm going up to the 2.2%, I'm going to use that DCC Concepts power-based system from DCC Concepts, a British manufacturer. It's often used by a lot of the British modelers who have those little bitty steam locomotives that won't pull anything. And it's metal, steel plates that go under the track and magnets to put in the equipment. Try to get the tractive effort to get up the grade. But I wanted a steep grade anyway. You will have to have 2 locomotives to get, and you can't just shove them on the front. It'll take a locomotive on the front and a pusher on the rear to get the 26 cars, 28 cars up the hill.
Or even 2 on the head end.
Absolutely. And the Norfolk and Western on this branch line didn't do that so much. They did some, surely, but when I could grow this layout, when I have a big basement in the future, it could grow this layout. Eventually, I'll get to model down to the 2-track main line, and I'll get a model that Norfolk and Western would run up toward Williamson, up the 2-track main line, where the J ran at 70 miles an hour going by, and where they used electrics under catenary some of the time. They would run 2 Y6s on the head, 160 70-ton coal hoppers, and 2 Y6s on the tail, with auxiliary water tenders in all that mix to push that train. And they keep that train even up those steep grades, up that 2% grade. They would keep those trains, 25 mile an hour or above. It's a lot of horsepower.
But for his room, 12 by 13. 2% grade would probably be good enough. You could probably throw a helix in there to bring you back down quickly. And
helix to gain the extra space.
Well,
you could do it. You could get a foot, but you've got to consider the thickness of your bench work and everything, and that's one of the reasons.
No. 12 inches. You said 12 inches, so I'm going railhead to railhead.
That's right.
So 12 inches is 3 times 16 feet.
48 feet. Yep. And that's how big his room. A 12 by 13 room is 50 feet around. So even not including going out onto a peninsula, you can gain that foot of elevation just going around the room 2% consistently. A lot of this will have to do with what you're modeling too, though, Joe. I mean, if you're modeling a branch line that can have particularly steep grades, particularly short trades, logging trades, shays, things like that, this is not a problem to have steeper than 2% grades. People, you know, there's plenty of modelers who model logging lines that do 5% grades. It's prototypical and they do it. You can do that.
Yeah. Are you, Joe, are you modeling HO or are you talking N scale? I noticed you just put another comment. A 4x4 helix. I don't know what you mean by 4x4.
4 foot by 4 foot square.
Yeah.
Helix.
Not going to be good enough. In N scale, it probably could be.
Sure.
But not an HO.
No, you need
at least 5 feet.
Yeah, you need a 30. That's what I'm doing, 5 feet and going down to 28 inches on radius. My goal was to stay above 30-inch radius. That's a sweet spot at HO scale. 30 inches is the real sweet spot. Things really start to run good at 30 inches.
And the next question is, are you point to point or are you going to have a loop?
Yeah, right now he said, thank you guys. A 4x4 helix should work and still have room to walk around. My railroad has pushers at a certain point, which was the plan for operations. Now he's saying I would wind it up at a mountain terrain and then go into a tunnel with a tunnel exit behind a gate sky drop to hide the train above the mountain line. He said HO, a fictional short line regional, class 3. Okay, so 5 foot by 5 foot, I'll have a loop.
Yeah.
And you can
Now,
still that.
Do you want to run double line on the helix or just a single? On mine, I only put single, but I have provision, room for a second. So I made it wide enough. And I made it 5 feet.
If it's going to run a class 3, it's going to be a single line, branch line style of operation.
For class 3, it could also be 3%. It doesn't have to be 2%.
Absolutely. I show you numerous places at the Norfolk and Western. A class 1 railroad run that on branch lines that they run 2.6, 2.7%. My railroad is
3% is 4.5 inches and 12 feet.
And my railroad is entirely designed around the helper district. That is exactly what I modeled. When you come out on the bottom deck, soon as the caboose clears the tunnel and clears that turnout, which is immediate, well, not the tunnel, but there's a cut. Soon as you come out of that cut and you clear the turnout there, you stop and you tie a helper on with the caboose just 18 inches onto the visible layout. And you shove all 360 feet of the layout all the way to the top deck. The train is 7/8 of the way into staging, where you stop with just the tail of the train sticking out of the cut that goes through the wall into staging. You stop with the tail of the train sticking out there and drop the helper so it can drift back down grade. I modeled the entirety of the helper district with every turnout and every passing siding and everything that was there on the prototype. I did compress it. It's about 18 miles on the prototype, and I'll have about 6 scale miles. But I think helper grade. I read something in one of the forums or one of the magazines a couple years ago when I was thinking about this layout, and there was an argument there about whether to model a helper district, and so many of the people were chiming in and said, "Don't do that. Don't waste the space on the helper. It's not that interesting operation or whatever. It's hard to do operation." There's all kinds of downsides. and they will favor. They were encouraged to spend the energy into industrial switching, or the space in in getting switching in industry. It's entirely about what you're interested in. I like real action of man and machine against nature, and there's nothing better than a helper grade as that challenge.
Well, that said, one of your favorites is Mike Confalone, and he runs helpers. And for new guys that come and operate, he doesn't tell them about the helper until they try and go up one of his grades and can't make it. And then he says, "Oh, you should have had a helper on there."
Yeah, they double the hill Parliament Summit on one side, and then they run a pusher. The yard crew will do a pusher job out that other side of that other yard. That's a really interesting layout. Something that people often we focus on. Longest main line, which that's important to me, or various considerations. He did a really interesting and crazy thing with his design, and looking at how these other people who have been building railroads for years, what they've learned and what they've done with theirs. His has multiple divisions and branch lines, a couple branch lines, all coming together. So there's a lot of people off doing separate things that don't interact with each other. So it gives you a lot more engagement for a higher number of operators than my much more linear railroad would allow for.
All right, Joe's got down here, he's HO, a fictional short line regional, class 2. Okay, so 5x5, I'll have a loop. Then he also commented, single line on the helix, both levels will have a single main line with sidings in 2 end yards with a midpoint yard. That's the plan. Ha ha, brain hurts.
Yeah, Ralph will do that to you. He'll give you a headache heartbeat.
Yeah. So here's my layout, and it's 19 feet that way, and it's 10 feet across here. So if you cut off a little bit here, it's your layout. I started at this point, and I started going up 2% around here, and then through my mountain here, across what you see behind me now is my swing out gate, and by the time I get to this bridge at this point here, I've gained 10 inches, and then I go into the helix and back down again, come out over here on this level.
And you start your grade right where the gauntlet track drops you out under the trestle. That's where you start your grade.
I start it right here where it says waterfall. Where it says waterfall, the word waterfall.
Yeah.
That's where I start my grade. 2% going up on this outside track.
Sure.
And it goes up and across the bridge here where the waterfall is, through the mountain, comes out again across the swing gate, and it's elevated here. It's an 8-foot plate girder bridge above my barge area, and then across the big bridge into there, and that's where 10 inches is, right at that point. So if that helps you, I hope it does.
I think you can build a very interesting layout in anything bigger, HO scale, anything bigger than 10 by 10. So 11 by 13, you can build an incredibly interesting.
Although 10 by 10, Mike Hamer has 10 by 10, and he's got an excellent layout.
Absolutely.
With staging around the outside.
Yeah, I love that linear staging around the outside. That's just a spectacular design. I started out with that design, and I despise multi-deck layouts. Despise them, even though I'm building a 4-deck layout. Despise it. It's just, like I've said before, model railroading is a choose your own adventure book of choose your own compromise. And to operate the way I wanted my railroad to operate, I care tremendously about operations. To be able to operate the way I wanted to, mainline length was a requirement. Time was a requirement because of the timetable trade order. So 360 feet is really not enough. Again, they're all compromises, sacrifices.
Hey Lee, what you know? He just popped in. Joe said that is a fascinating design, Ralph.
It works for me. I wanted to see a loop of some sort. I can set a train out and let it run, or you can operate. So it works both ways. I still have a problem understanding why people just go point to point, because you don't turn your locos around or anything.
If
It's
I
just
point
point to point.
I-
And people like it, so I'm not knocking it. It's
No,
my
it's-
choice. My choice is a loop somehow, and I have basically both, but I do have a complete loop if I want to.
And
In
I
other
would
words-
produce a loop if I could. If I
And-
could produce a loop easy so that I can have continuous running, and I do have a loop on a secondary line around the level that I've built here, but it's a crazy way to get a loop out of it. I would have one, but I won't make the sacrifice to. I won't make the sacrifice to prototypical, concepts. Sincere design where only a single track goes through a seed. Directionally pure where you're always looking north when you're looking at the track work. If you're serious about operations, those kind of key factors really make it a lot more elegant. If you don't have to figure out, well, I'm on this track, so that's going this way. And am I going to be the southbound train? Okay, where's that coming from? You immediately think about it.
Dan Ward just piped in. He says his layout is prototype layout, so it's point to point. And I can understand that if you're prototype. I'm not prototype. I'm sort of fantasy, or whatever they call it.
Freelance.
Freelance. So I have areas that remind me of the Rockies, because I'm in Canada. And I have areas that remind me of waterfront and harbor that I have on my layout.
Sure.
So I do what I wanted. It's my railroad.
Absolutely. And I've said before, as specific or persnickety as I am about things, this is a hobby. It's for entertainment. If at the end of the day you are entertained by your hobby, you are a success. That's the only measuring stick there is.
Yeah, well, Ralph is one of those, sometimes he feels like a nut, sometimes he don't.
You're right.
Joe put down here, I want to operate realistically and some days just run the trains and relax, especially showing off the layout to guests.
Yes.
Sure. Now you can do a lot with point to point or with loop to loop, and something you can do if you have a peninsula in a room like that is put a loop at the bottom, go out around the room, making elevation, go out over the peninsula, pick another, pick a couple loops up in a helix so you can gain the elevation you need to make good scenery. Go up and around the top deck, and then come back out onto that top level of the peninsula and have another loop. So you can have a loop-to-loop operation, and you can entirely automate that. Johnny bought the what's that little thing you got that does that?
Oh, the Wabbit?
Yep. So, I mean, you can build it with Arduino or something too, but you can buy a Wabbit for whatever they cost and entirely automate loop-to-loop operation. So it's effectively the same as a continuous running circuit on your layout.
It's somewhere around about $35, I think it was.
Yep.
For that.
Yep. So you can automate that entire process and still get all the benefits of continuous running. I want the value of Ralph 80. I want to be able to turn a train off when I'm in here and mess it around, or if somebody's coming over to see the layout, turn a train or a couple on, and you can use JMRI with their warrant system and automation in JMRI to have a couple trains navigate the layout and pass each other on a passing siding, one pull in, stop, go to the hole and stop. You can automate that whole process. I'm going to build an automation routine for my track cleaning train. So I just self-cleaning layout. I just tell it to go clean itself, and the track cleaning train just runs the entire loop of the layout, comes back, and goes down to the sidings.
Yeah, Ron's Trains and Things just jumped in, and he said, I have balloon tracks around my staging yards so I could continuous run without sacrificing the look of a visible main line. I hope his wife don't get out there and be funny and fill his balloons with helium.
That'll take him to a new level.
Yeah.
Balloon tracks are a good idea, even if you don't care about the continuous running point to point, so that you can restage your trades easy enough. You could back them out of stage, stub in staging, and turn them around on the balloons, and send them, and then put it back into staging. So they're pretty handy anyway.
Yeah. Roz said jokes are bad tonight, LOL.
Yeah.
Well, none of us are highlighting at the comedy club this weekend, so we didn't need to test them.
Yeah.
They turned us down.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy, that show with Jerry, how much layout lighting did he go over in that show?
Oh gosh, tremendously.
With LEDs and all?
Yep.
Predominantly, but he talked a lot about the theory. What you need to get the lights up. But he does talk about LED and
what was the name of that show?
What's the name of it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was just a Miles show, wasn't it?
It's a fine scale show. It's part of the fine scale show.
Yeah, it was. Fine scale.
Okay. I got a couple people that was asking about doing a show on layout lighting with using LEDs. So I know Troy was asking, and I forgot who the other one was, but go check out the fine scale shows. What was it, last month or a month before we had that show? Wasn't too far back, so one or two shows.
Might have been June.
Yeah, June, I think it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah, go check that out. Let me know if that's kind of helping you out on your layout on LED lighting for layouts, and I'll talk around, see what we can come up with too on some other stuff. I know we got one guy, Troy, he doesn't come in too often, but he's used LEDs to light his up. See if we can't get him on, do a little spotlight on how he used the LEDs.
Another one.
Mike Deverell on.
That's the one I was gonna mention. Mike Deverell done one of the best videos that talks about the practical choices we have between compact, fluorescent, LED, incandescent, can lights, LED strip, and all that. He talks about the problems with LED strips. Don't have a throw distance, very good. So if you have 4 feet between the ceiling and your layout level, that's going to be a problem, like he did. What was covered on Jerry's show, on the show we did with Jerry, is more theory that I have seen on any model railroading show about this stuff at all, because he's a professional. He does lighting professionally for museums and professional deployments, and theater lighting. That's right. He's done some museum stuff. It's spectacular if you love the theory of it. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him about that stuff. Mike Deverell has a good video as well that's worth watching about some of the practical aspects, and he chose a different route because of his 10-foot ceiling height, and he chose LED bulb lights in small fixtures every couple feet. It entirely depends on your room, but watch the show we did with Jerry first, because he tells some things that I didn't know. If the color is not in the light, you can't see it. So you've got to make sure you've got to have the right color ranges of lights, and it made me rethink. I'm going to use LED strips, but maybe rethink the focus I need to put into what strips and how they're used.
All right, JT1, he said, my club HO scale modular layout is point to a turnaround, and it seriously gets really boring to run in. And Curtis threw up here, I thought we were having a Saturday night joke night live this Saturday.
We're warming up for it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, it's going to be wonderful. I think Rod's going to be let down, though.
We'll just let Ron M see it.
There you are. Give him one of those big hooks. They'll drag you off stage when it doesn't work for
There
him.
you go. Well, just go ahead and remind everybody, since I got a lull in the conversation here, in case you didn't catch the first of the show here. All right, we're going to kind of start back into our regular season, and we got September the 11th. It's going to be the Fine Scale Show, and then September the 19th will be a week from the Fine Scale Show. Both of those are at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Andy's been kind of thinking and looking at a little bit of change in the show, so that'll be interesting. And Joe has teamed up. He's starting out the year with Bill the Track Planner. I think what they're going to be doing is going to be rather interesting, and they will be Joe is going to be running trains on his layout to demonstrate what he and Bill are talking about during the show. So I think that's going to be rather interesting, so you might want to tune in for that.
Anytime trains are running, man, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, we've run over the hour mark there a little bit, not much, but anybody got anything else they want to throw out real quick, or?
No, not me.
No.
Nope.
Well, you know you don't have to talk to run in my mouth. I've already run my mouth enough, so yeah, I think I've covered it.
All righty, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just go ahead and run this one right on back into the can then, and want to say thank you.
I want to know how Joe makes out though, so I want updates.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, please let us know how your layout's coming along. Share some pictures in the Facebook group, and come back in one of the regular nightly hangouts, and you know that we're always hang out in. Come in, chat with us.
And for those that have Androids, well, the Apples, Andy said, works too. Be sure to check out Troy Simpson's post there he put up about using your phone as a camera, so you don't have to pick your laptop up and move it around.
Yeah, you Android people don't get too mad at me. That's just a little, you Android people would pick on me if I said something about iPhone. So we got to keep this little friendly thing going.
Yeah. All righty. Want to thank everybody in the chat for coming in. Appreciate it. Want to thank everybody on the panel tonight for being here. I think we've had a good conversation. Appreciate the show and tell there, Cabana Bob, on the Lincoln's car and engine. That was definitely interesting. I never would have thought about that extra set of wheels there that was on the car. Yeah, being dual track. Alright, Joe just posted up. Thank you guys so much for the input. We'll move in December and hopefully have the bench work done by February. I'd love to join the webcast. Alright, appreciate it. Alright, so let's see if that button worked. Since I had a little faux pas with the software when I first came on tonight. Yep. Alright, so go check YouTubeModelBuilders.com. I'll be updating the schedule here next few days. I haven't kept up with it like I should have through the summer, but you know, it was summertime, what can I say? So we've got well, tonight's the last night got a show, so well, we got Yeah, we just got one show next week. That's this show again. And then the following second weeks we'll start back in on our scheduled shows again. So you still got another week to go. Yeah, you just stuck with me. All right, y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you next week, next Thursday night, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Y'all have a good one.